Hey, hello everybody. Hi everybody. Ken Kasha here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad you're here with me tonight in our live cast, Back to Basics, helping you to get it going again and keep it going. I'm honored by your presence. Thank you. I appreciate, I gotta tell you, I appreciate your struggle, the challenges, the difficulty, because let's face it, although these tools that we know, Silva Method and all the other tools you know, they could be simple, straightforward, they do work, they're powerful. It's just not always easy implementing them in our lives for a variety of reasons. And that's part of our mission tonight. And that's part of why I do these, a big part of why I do these master classes, to support you, to help you make it a practice so that it becomes a part of you. You know, as well as I do, the information is important. Yes, knowledge is power. And yet we see in all these decades, nearly 5 decades doing this work, I've come to realize, regardless of the philosopher, the thought leader, the, 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 the genius we study, the knowledge is fascinating, and yet it does us little to no good unless we what? Implement it, apply it, and make it a part of us. So before we begin and jump into our material, I would like to read something to you. And we'll do a little exercise, what I've been calling, I've heard other people call it, I like the term, a transition meditation. This is something I want you to start doing. It will take you a minute, 2, 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long exercise, but it's something that you can do whenever you're moving from, let's say, like today, you're moving from maybe dinner with your family to this live cast. Or you're at work going from one meeting to another meeting, one client to another client. If you're a therapist or a counselor or a coach, one phone call to another call, one sales call to another. Or maybe you're moving from work, you're coming home to be with your family. It's very important because, and very, very, very helpful to enable us to be more present, to release some of the tensions of the prior parts of the day, and to prepare for what we're about to do so that we can be there with them. I mean, can you relate? Have you ever come home from work with every intention to be with your family, to enjoy them, to have some fun, and yet you just had it and finding yourself with little to no energy? So tonight we want to put an end to that. So here's a goal. I heard somebody, thought leader, go through this, and let me just grab my notes here for you because I want to actually show this to you. Okay, so this is what we're working on. At first, it begins with an intention. So I hope you can read that because I'm looking at the screen and it's reversed. But it says intention. So it begins with an intention. So you've invested in the Silva Method. And by the way, here you are, and I salute you, I honor you, because here you are investing. I know it's only $10. That's, come on, for 90 minutes. But it's your time, isn't it? It's your time. And here you are still making the effort. And that speaks volumes about you. So it begins with an intention to live a better quality of life, to enrich in a relationship with a loved one, with your children, a significant other, a business partner. Or maybe your intention is to take some weight off or to heal yourself, to improve your health and well-being. Or your intention is to enjoy the holidays with your family. We're coming into the holidays, guys, family and friends. So when you learn something like the Silva Method, it begins with an intention to what? Self-improve, to improve performance, to overcome some of our challenges. And of course, although I love the Silva Method and it's my passion, we know, you know, we all know there are many modalities. Many of you are very rich in these modalities. Keep it up. From the intention, it becomes what? A behavior. Something we actually start to do. And you may remember when you first did Silva, or first learned any meditation technique, if you learned meditation before Silva, at first it was like, oh, what do I do? How do I begin? What do I do next? And you may have felt awkward, uneasy, maybe even felt a little restless because it wasn't yet part of your behaviors. There's something different out of your comfort zone. And then if you do it often enough and you do it repeatedly, so consistency. And this is something I'm going to challenge you with. I mean, I know many of you who are on the call, some of you who have yet to meet. I look forward to meeting you one day. As you know, I teach regularly in Chicago area and here in New England, in Connecticut. Well, I get to travel the world as the training director and doing advanced trainings. So one day we'll meet. From that, it becomes what? A habit. So it's the repetition, the repetition. And we now know, thanks to neuroscience, that we are retraining the brain. We're firing in our practice when you're doing a guided meditation, when you're in class with me, when we're going to do some exercises tonight. That's the firing of the neurochemistry. And then when you repeat it, you're wiring it. And the repetition is necessary so that it becomes a habit. And once it's a habit and we do it often enough, it becomes a practice. It becomes part of our daily routine. Something you do in the morning, something you do in between meetings, something you do before a special event, something you do before you go to bed. Just like brushing your teeth is a practice. Getting dressed in the morning before you go out is a daily practice. There are things we do on a regular basis that are habitual, that we do without even thinking. Driving, typing, require the development of a psychomotor skill. And when you repeat it often enough, at first it's like, oh, you gotta, okay, let me look. And then after a while, we're on automatic and we don't have to think anymore. And that's part of the challenge, guys, that I want to say, if you're struggling, if you're having difficulty, you're not alone. Embrace it, honor that, and recognize that you've got how many years? How long have you been alive on this planet? You've got a lot of stored memories. You've been traumatized, you've been hurt, you've been disappointed, you've been brainwashed in a very negative way. And all this is in what some have called the subconscious, we call the inner conscious. And it's not just going to go away because you go through a 1, 2, 3, or 4-day training or 10-day. You're going to need to follow through, and it's the consistent effort. So once it becomes a practice, the next step would be it becomes what? Second nature. Like a psychomotor skill. You don't have to think about it. It's just what you do until eventually, and this is what I want for you, this is key, it's just who you are. So at first, we've got to remind ourselves. At first, we've got to catch ourselves when we have those knee-jerk reactions. And often the way we react in life is a reflection on the past conditioning. You know this, the past programming. So it begins with acknowledging it, being consciously aware of it, and then having the tools like you have in Silva, and I'll remind you of them today, and we'll develop some applications to help you what? So to speak, delete, put it aside so that you have the dominant habitual pattern of the way you want to be. And again, it's the consistent application. So it's not rocket science. You don't need to be the smartest person in town. You don't need to be a swami or a guru and devote hours and hours. It could be just minutes. It's the daily, every single day, without fail. Even if you have to force yourself. I can assure you, if you're not there yet, I know some of you are, God bless you, and if you're not, you just got to kind of push yourself, almost force yourself to do that. So let's do a quick little exercise. And this exercise, again, you can write the word down. I haven't got a card for it. A transition meditation, if you will. And the point of the exercise is, this is something you can do, something like this in the morning. I especially want you to do this. It's a short, anywhere from a minute, I'd say usually takes at least a minute to 3 minutes, give or take. Whenever you are moving on to something different, it's a way to assure that any of the stored stress, because part of our challenge is we're looking to create a new state of being, a state of being that's defined by a vision of your future, of your best self. We're doing exercise. Stay to the end. We're going to do an exercise, closing exercise, your best self exercise. Rather than, instead of being defined by the past, instead of being stuck in the memories of the past. So if you find yourself wallowing in the past, constantly bringing it up, thinking about it, that means you're not done. That means you're kind of, I heard someone say this, Dr. Joe Dispenza, it's like you're in love with the past. Consciously, you're not. Of course, you're not. But because of the familiarity, it becomes a familiar pattern. And then there's an increase in cortisol and the stress hormones like cortisol, etc. And now body gets used to that. And when we're living in a stress moment, we get into it comes from fear, by the way. You can't be your best self. And we begin to react rather than respond to life. And we begin to act out of fear. We begin to think out of fear. So if you find yourself reacting negatively and getting upset easily, that is feedback for you that your body is still stuck in the past, in the memories of the past. And I'm not going to play your therapist, and I'm not going to play your doctor. So if you find some of this is overwhelming to you, seek help. Seek professional help. It's well worth it. Whether it be a coach, I have a coach, whether it be a counselor. I've seen counselors, therapists in the past to help process stuff. Sometimes, you just get so overwhelmed with emotion, grief, the loss of someone dear and near to you, or your business, or a horrible betrayal. And what happens is the chemistry takes over. When the chemistry takes over, it's really difficult to think clearly, and it becomes a distraction. So those of you who follow my work and have been studying with me, you've graced me with your presence, I play it straight and I tell the truth. And I'm not into embellishing, and I'm not into exaggerating it and giving you false hope, because that doesn't work. There's too much of that out there now. I was listening to Marianne Williamson talking about how many people these days read a book and they become spiritual teachers after reading one book, or they take one seminar. But they've got incredible marketing, and it's become all about the marketing. And I agree with her. She said, that's not how it works. When we're doing spiritual work, when we're guiding people, those of you who are coaches or therapists or counselors, or just parents and lovers, and you're caring about someone, we have a responsibility to be clear, to be focused, to be stable, to be centered, to bring that to the game. It's an awesome responsibility. I feel very humbled by it in doing this work. So the transition meditation, it begins with, and there are several steps. Let me just read this aloud. I did not write it down. It's pretty simple for this. What we're going to do is we're going to do kind of like a 3-finger accelerated. I like my glasses, my readers. 3-finger learning, transition meditation. So we're going to begin with the eyelids closed. Since this is for Silva grads, if somebody has given the link to somebody and you're not a Silva grad, that's okay. You're here, but just please understand, I'm not here teaching specifically what we spent 4 days, over 40 hours building out in the immersion of life and intuition system. This is a quick review with an emphasis on applications and looking at some of the nuances to help you get better, lasting, more consistent results. So I'll guide you with the alpha sound in the background. Highly recommend that you have your own copy of the alpha sound. Alpha sound, better than the theta. This is what Jose recommended. It's much more versatile. He recommended to us as graduates. As you know, we use 3 different sounds in the immersion experience in that event. Once we've established the foundation, alpha sound is your best bet, which is why on the long relax, the big relax that I make available on my Trust Your Intuition Academy, I use the alpha sound in the background. That's one of the downloads. And then the second download is just the alpha sound. So you can do all sorts of fun things with it. And then we're going to release. So I want you to think of releasing any tensions from the day, releasing any of the aggravations, releasing anything that maybe you got it kind of stored there. And then I'll guide you, pretty simple to follow, about you having superior concentration, superior understanding, that you'll hear and experience tonight what you need to make your life better. And then, while you're here, what's your intention? So basically, the transition meditation is eyelids closed, 3-to-1 method, which means 3 slow, deep breaths, very slow, deep breaths. And then once there, then you focus on your intent. You're thinking release, and then you're focusing on your intention. So if you're going into a business meeting, a new call, a new conversation, a new event, whatever it might be, a new book that you're reading, or a new something different than what you've just been doing, it will absolutely, most definitely help you to be far more present, increase your performance, and be much more masterful. So I want you, and I want to hear from you. That's my challenge to you. Find out for yourself tonight. Do not take my word for it. I know you honor me, you trust me, you've given me a vote of confidence. I want you to go beyond that though, and actually put the test, the pedal to the metal, so to speak. So let's do it. And I'm going to put the alpha sound on. Let me get my. So if you would, please allow your eyelids to close. And we'll begin this exercise with the 3-to-1 method. Again, I'm assuming, obviously, you're not watching the video, but it is possible to listen to just the sound while you're driving. So you got to be comfortable and safe in a place where you're comfortable and free of disturbances. So allow a very slow, deep breath. That's it. Take your time. And as you exhale, mentally repeat, visualize, think of the number 3 several times. And as you do, as you exhale, release any tensions. Desire to relax, desire to release any tensions from your body, brain, and mind. Allow another deep breath. That's it, very good. Hold it briefly. And as you exhale, imagine and visualize the number 2 several times, releasing any feelings of anxiety, any feelings of apprehension. Just let them go. Allow another deep breath, slowly inhaling. Hold it briefly. And again, as you exhale, releasing any tensions, desiring to center yourself in alpha. How good it feels to progressively relax deeper and deeper. Now, I'd like you to take a few moments to reflect with gratitude on any progress. What are some of the tools, the techniques you've used? What are some of the applications you've implemented in your life where you've made even, remember Napoleon Hill's definition, success, the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So it could be a huge, big success, or it could be a small step, baby step. Reflect on that with gratitude in your heart. You may also want to reflect with gratitude a feeling. Have a deep feeling of appreciation for anyone in your life, your happies in your life. Someone or something you care about that you feel so blessed and fortunate is a part of your life. Allow the feelings to build. Exaggerate the feeling. If this person were here with you, what would you say to him or her? And now, acknowledge any struggles you've had, challenges. Specifically, since tonight is a back to basics with the Silva method, struggles, challenges you've had with any of the tools or techniques, with the intention to hear tonight what you need to enhance the quality of your life. Imagine, know that tonight you will hear and experience what you need to get back on track and to stay on track. Have an intention to learn, to grow. So tonight you'll have superior concentration, superior understanding, and this is so. In a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 5, cause a sound with my fingers, and at that moment, you may open your eyelids, be wide awake and alert, feeling fine and in excellent health, feeling much, much better than before, feeling rejuvenated and revitalized. 1, 2, coming out slowly now. 3. At the count of 5, you may open your eyelids, be wide awake and alert, feeling fine and in excellent health, feeling much, much better than before. 4, 5, eyelids open, wide awake and alert, feeling fine and in excellent health, feeling much, much better than before. Hey, welcome back, genius. You genius, you. Tell yourself, I am a genius. I know sometimes it doesn't seem that way, but you have that potential. Excellent. Welcome back. A little stretch, shake it out, make sure you're back, awake and alert. Fantastic. Good job. I wish I could see your face as you open your eyes. That's one of the best parts for me, is facilitating these meditations, as you know, remember in the class. And by the way, this is not to replace coming back to review the class. I'll make a quick statement, just one. It's a plug, yes, for reviewing the value, the benefit. This is an adjunct to build on it. It's not always convenient. I want you to take good notes tonight. I want you to make sure your cell phone's off, that you're not looking at, your emails and stuff like that. I want you to make sure that you're here with me fully present in the moment, paying attention. I'm going to have to talk fast because there's a lot to cover. And I want you to keep this. You're going to get a link. You can get the replay, and you'll be able to come back to this time and time again. So there'll be a lot of different tools. So let's open up with familiar. We all know that in life it happens, right? The big S. Stuff. I know there's another word. And some of these life events, we call them life events. So quick, just to bring us to focus together. These life events, some of them are within our control, many of them are not. The key, though, is number 2, your perspective, the point of power, the interpretation, the value you place on it. So tonight I want to review some of the fundamentals as we look at the applications, because when you master these fundamentals, you got it made. It doesn't matter what modality you're studying, what you're a part of, it'll make a huge difference for you. So perspective, the way we look at things, this is so vitally important, because the perspective determines our attitude, the value we place on it, the way we look at it. Are we seeing it as a catastrophe? Are we seeing it as the end of the world? Are we seeing it as we're screwed? You can't fight City Hall. Why bother? I'm happy to note, apparently this year in the United States, in these midterm elections, we had record-breaking turnouts in many states. I know here in Connecticut we did, and Massachusetts, New England, some that I paid attention to. That's great. So maybe there's some value in some of the anger and how people have been polarized because they've had it up to here, and they're hoping for reform. They're hoping for some positive change with that. So the attitude, if we have an attitude, the perspective determines what our attitude, as you know. We're either optimistic or pessimistic. If we become pessimistic and we say, oh God, we're screwed, why bother? We give up and we lose hope. Isn't it interesting? Remember, if you've been with me in the immersion in recent years, neuroscientists have taught us that when we study things like neuroplasticity, when we look at the brain scans in determining what gives the brain the healthiest shot, so to speak, what's the healthiest exercise, what's the healthiest thing you and I can do for our brains to promote flexibility, to promote neuroplasticity, the ability to bounce back, to be resilient, to be balanced. That's right, hope. Faith, having the faith that things can be better, having the faith or the hope that we're not alone, that somehow, some way, we can figure things out. So even though you may not know how the heck you're going to get there, what you're going to do, you've got at least the faith and the hope. And when you have the hope that you can figure things out, you're more likely to what? Behave. Your behavior is affected. You're more likely, to act. with that, to study, to take a course, to take a seminar, to listen to a guided meditation, to make it a daily practice, to do whatever it is that you do. But you're more likely to take action. When you take action, you get results. So my message to you is, based on some of the questions that I get, is patience really is not just a virtue, it's necessary. Because the danger we have when we enter our level, so for example, this transition meditation we just did, you can vary it. It's basically eyelids closed, 3 slow deep breaths, do the 3-to-1 method if you like, thinking of releasing the tensions, and then focus on your intention, what it is you're about to do next, with the intention of being fully present, of bringing your best self with you. That's simple. That's it. I added more because we added the accelerated learning approach of the 3 fingers, which is even more cool, this idea before you, if you want to enhance learning with that. So some of us on the live cast are fairly new graduates. And a common thing that happens to a fairly new, especially if you're new to meditation, is this, we sit, I can still remember what it was like when I first went. I felt shaky. I felt like I just wanted to open my eyes. I was waiting for some sort of, I don't know, magic to happen. Just recently, I had this someone online. I don't even know the person. He's not even a student or a coach client or somebody I've worked with. And he reached out to me because of who I am in the Silva organization. And I did my best to help him. And I thought I gave him some really good sound advice and took, precious time to answer. And he got pissed off at me and he yelled at me, in an email. I couldn't believe it. And I answered again, and he was still nope. And he's making comments. He didn't buy anything from me. He didn't give me a penny. But I don't even know what it is he had. But he was so obsessed with how he felt. He was waiting to feel tingling all over and a vibration, which you do get sometimes. I get that in my meditations. Absolutely, it feels wonderful. But if we sit there looking for it, it won't happen. If we sit there worrying about it. So the principle is, which you've probably heard many, many times, where attention goes, energy flows. Repeat it after me. Where attention goes, energy flows. Which is another way of saying, you create your own reality by virtue of the way you think and feel. So if one is sitting there worrying about, am I deep enough? Am I doing it right? How come I'm not feeling this? Then you're in the blue, in beta. You look behind me, you're in the blue, you're in beta. And because the whole point of meditation is to detach, to surrender, to release our thoughts, our input to the brain from physical reality. So we close our eyes, so we're not seeing things. We're not listening to a conversation. Maybe we have a sound or nice music on, which gives us a good focal point. We're not, we're detaching from that so that we're what? Focusing within. And that's part of what we're doing. That's what's meant. A lot of scripture and spiritual teachings have taught us. Focus within is your gateway to heaven, so to speak, heaven on earth. So we use these tools. It's a routine. It's a structured routine to establish controls. And once you're there, and once it's just the way you are, then you don't need the routine anymore, frankly. And then it's just the way you are, and you live and you close your eyes and you deep breath or two and just desire to center, and it happens. And you can even have brain scans to verify that for you. It's going to take, though, the rewiring of your brain to get to that point. So again, what I'm going to say to you, I want to just look at something on the screen, guys, for you. I want to just double check something, make sure we're okay. And we are, apparently. And I hope you hear me loud and clear, because according to my screen, the volume is, I've got an external mic. So you see where I'm going with that? I want you to remember that. A lot of the tools we use are about surrendering, about letting go. If we're externally oriented, we're not in the green and red. We're expanding our awareness to the subconscious, what we call in Silva the inner conscious state of mind and body. We're detaching our external focus. It's much like for people who are dependent on how much money they have, who they have, what they wear, what they drive to be happy. It's a vicious cycle. The person's kind of doomed to not be very happy because there's always going to be more, right? So I'm not saying that we should live in poverty. That's obviously not the point. But the point is that we're turning within. So another fundamental principle to explain the science behind where attention goes, energy flows. If your attention is on, or your thought is on, am I deep enough? And if you're focusing, for example, when people have pain, or had surgery, they're recovering, that can be a big, big distraction. I'm with you. I've been there myself. It does get in the way. You're right. And when you're going through something like that, that's when the long relax, that 30-minute deep relaxation is especially important and helpful to use. Because if you've got pain in your body, anywhere in your body, it will kind of, where attention goes, energy flows, our thoughts are focused there, and it's going to keep us in the blue rather than the green and the red. So the thought is like a light switch, the catalyst, as you know, the catalyst to trigger feelings. And those feelings, those emotions, this is key. The feelings cause the brain to release the neuropeptides, the chemical messengers of the body. And those neuropeptides, those neurochemicals, move through the body, and that's where the action's at. That's where we make the change. So we now know that when we are doing our Silva programming, when we are imagining and or visualizing, mentally rehearsing our best self, it's very important to repeat that because we're reinforcing it and we're creating that state. So the emotions, the feelings do run our physiology. And that is not my opinion. That is an educated statement to make based on all the science in both modern psychology throughout the past decades up to now neuroscience. Because the emotions cause the brain to release the neurochemicals, which affect what? Your physiology, which affects the quality of your behaviors. So if you're an athlete about to go play tennis or about to go bowling or to go play bridge or mahjong or something like that with someone, and you're psyching out worried about the competition, that thought will trigger feelings of worry and anxiety, which will put you into a state of stress. When you're in a state of stress, you don't think very clearly, and it causes you to make bad moves, poor decisions. It affects, if people, you know this, you're more likely to get injured when you fall or stub your toe or hit yourself when you're stressed. You're more likely to not remember something when you're stressed. You're more likely to make a mistake, have an accident when you're stressed because you're in a zone of fear. You're not in your best self. You're not in that new state of being. You're being defined by the past fears, the past repetitive patterns that cause us to get stuck there. And again, it's no easy task. It can be done. Absolutely. You've done it, many of you. It just takes repetitive, consistent practice. So am I beginning to sound like a broken record? Remember records? And of course, all this. So the thoughts trigger the feelings affect the physiology, which affects the quality of your behaviors, which affect the results you get or don't get. It's a straightforward, fundamental principle that is key. So much of what we do in the Silva program is designed to help us what? Master these fundamental principles. And when you master these principles, you got it made. You do. So I want you to recognize that you've learned well over 19 different tools. To my knowledge, there is no course, no program that comes even close to the level of practicality of the Silva method. I know we're an old modality. I know that, brand, as they say, but baby, there's so much there, almost too much, right? So remember, you don't have to master it all or use it. It depends on where you are in your life. And this is part of when you come back, like tonight, you'll hear things differently, even though you've maybe come back to review the class once or twice or more. Because as we change, our perspective changes. And as our perspective changes, our filters change and we hear things differently. And it's like peeling layers of an onion. You get it deeper and deeper. Make sense? So let me just check some notes. I've been busy at work and I've been updating and doing this and watching videos and training and practicing to do this. So we're talking about creating this new state of being that's defined by vision of the future. And in that, I've heard some call this, I like to be as scientific as possible because some of the scientists I study with and who coach me are very, very strict and very conservative, like Mark Robert Waldman, um, remember, who wrote How God Changes Your Brain. But you hear a lot of talk about the unified field. You remember in day number 2 of the immersion when we watched the video with Neil deGrasse Tyson about you are the universe and the universe is you. Very cool. We know that anything that physically exists on this planet throughout this entire universe, from a physical standpoint, is made up of what? Energy and atoms. And that's exactly what, at our very core, we're made up of: energy, then to atoms, then to molecules, and then to cells, etc. So in this new state of being, in this unified field, we use entering our level. So remember on the chart, and you have copies of this in your manual, both of your manuals, Life System and Intuition System, you have a copy of this chart, the basic plane. The basic plane would be Jose Silva's way, if you were alive here today, I think you would agree, of defining, of labeling this unified field. It's a field that we're all a part of and that we want to access it. And when we access it, we're accessing a stream of consciousness, of wisdom that goes beyond our 5 senses, that goes beyond what we know to be true scientifically, that goes beyond what we know to be true and accurate physically speaking. It's the realm of infinite possibilities. You've heard so many thought leaders talk about. And I'm not blowing smoke up you know what. I'm saying that we all have access to this stream of possibilities. It's a matter, though, of being what? Expanding our conscious awareness, being open to it, and getting some of the things that, like limiting beliefs or whatever it might be, that have us stuck. It's not even so much limiting beliefs as much as old habit patterns that need to change. And once we change those old habits, replace them with new habit patterns, that's when we begin to progress. That's when we begin to. So, quick example for you. I know I wrote this in one of the recent emails. You may or may not have read it, but it brought me. I got teary-eyed. It brought me almost to tears, and it was just such a wonderful feeling. Early in the year, in the early winter, a young boy was in class. Some of you remember him. I have permission to use the story, and his first name, Johnny. 10-year-old. His mother and grandmother both were graduates, long-term grads, practitioners, ardent believers, supporters. They brought him in. And Johnny, for a lot of reasons, some of which, as time went by, I learned about because they didn't fully disclose this to me. In the first 2 days, he was up and down, up and down, up and down, getting water. And it was kind of funny, and nobody said anything to me, but I think most of us kind of loved the kid and was smiling. And for some reason, it didn't bother me. I mean, he would get up right in front of me. I'm in the middle of a presentation, do my thing. Day 3 and 4, very little of that. And throughout the 4 days, every once in a while, bam, he was gone. And I'm privately thinking, watching this, because I'm there. That's why we keep the groups to 2024, because you've got my undivided attention. And I'm watching how you're doing, how you're responding. And if I see that you're not responding well, I can tell by watching, I'll make sure I go talk to you. If ever you had me bump it, oh, how you doing? Like by accident. Well, he zoned out, and I said, yes. Because usually 10-year-olds are fidgety during the meditations, and they have their moments. And even went so deep that we had to go shake him a few times, admittedly. When it came time, day 3 and 4, the games with intuition, he was the best. I've said this before, you've heard me say it perhaps. Young people between 8 and 12, I let them into class as long as a parent is with them, and the parent is already a Silva grad, not first time going through. They're my best students as long as they want to be there. And it was clear to everybody. He got through it. He was acing it. He was spot on. From the early morning exercise, day 3, to the psychometry in the evening, to the case working. He was done with 10, and people were still working on their 4th and 5th. And he was spot on. Everybody was like, whoa, impressed. Well, recently, about 2 weeks ago, I received an email from his mom. He was suffering from nerve damage. He hasn't had any pain from the nerve damage since the class. He is like a totally different person. He talks about the class frequently. He's become a much better student, paying attention. He's doing better in school. His confidence has soared. I was like, whoa. And that's not just 10-year-olds, people like you, adults, 20, 30, 50, 80-year-old people, as long as you pay attention. Every once in a while, if ever you've been in a class, you've seen people, I'm not talking grad reviewers, newbies, who come late, some very late, and then they leave early, and then they complain. They haven't even given it a chance. And then they have the audacity to say, oh, it doesn't work. And I just recently had that. Someone who missed the whole morning of day one, and I made the mistake of letting her go through, frankly, because she was already on the plane and everything. Patience. You gotta pay the dues. Anything worth anything is going to take some work. And eventually it's going to be hard or seem hard, but after a while it just becomes like second nature once it becomes a practice for you. So let's move. Got a lot more to cover. So let's take a look at our 4 days. There are two kinds of techniques that you've learned to help us establish thought control. Why is that important? Very common. When people meditate, they usually wander aimlessly all over. When people meditate, they drift and lose conscious awareness. Not necessarily fall asleep, but they're not maintaining conscious awareness. So therefore, it's like you fall in love with the feeling, feels so good. You want to know if there's any insights, any thoughts, any inspiration. You want to be able to remember that. And you need a level of conscious awareness for that. So that's why a lot of the tools and techniques are designed to help keep us focused, to help keep us in thought control so that we're not wandering aimlessly. We also have a history of all sorts of negativity. We live in a world right now that, God, the negative news cycle, something horrific happens. I agree, it's terrible, it's horrific. We've had so many this year. But how many times are we going to be reminded? I mean, if you have the news on, it's like constantly, and then people talk about it. And every time they hear it, they scream about it. And then they're watching, the results of the elections, or the president is giving a speech. And if you don't agree with what he's saying, whether you agree or not, and they're yelling at, that doesn't do any good. Complaining does nothing. Do something about it. Get involved. Get out and vote. Work in the community. Do things. Be involved as an activist in a positive way. Complaining gets us nowhere. It's like worrying. So two kinds of techniques. Sorry, I hope I don't sound like I'm on a soapbox. I just think that we're really in a very delicate period of history. We really are. What's going on in the world, not just America. There's way too much anger. Would you agree? There's way too much self-absorption and narcissistic behavior, like talk about on the highways, the recklessness, the way people drive. It's almost like they're saying, screw you, cutting in and out and everything else. That's dangerous. That's a symptom of how people are feeling inside. People are hurting. And we got to do our best. We got to help them. If there's things that can help your family and friends, turn them on to it. It'll help you, because if you don't, you are affected by the people, because who they are radiates out into your environment. Who you are radiates out to your family, your friends, your coworkers. And if you're in an environment with people who are suffering and are in pain and are negative, it's affecting you, no question about it. And you're going to need to practice even more. So anything you can do to get them positive is in your own best interest. So two types of techniques. Number one, very specific problem solvers. When you know what it is you want, you have a specific goal, we'll call them the problem-solving tools. Second type would be information seekers. And those are kind of the fun ones in the long run, because that's where we're accessing this infinite resourcefulness, this new state of being, where we're accessing the unified field in the interest of, in the Jungian sense, Carl Jung, the famous therapist, who talked about the collective unconscious that we all have access to when we sleep at night, or when we are tapping the unconscious, what he called the unconscious and or subconscious. So for example, some of the tools, I wrote them down because I made some points. If I may, I'm going to use some notes to make sure I cover this. First of all, the ideal place of relaxation is one of the very first things we did in the morning. And the ideal place of relaxation is when to get my place back. You don't need anything fancy. You could be in the middle of a delicate conversation. You could be on the phone with somebody and they're yelling at you. You could have gotten an unexpected bill, or just gotten some bad news, or someone who's a challenge to you in your life. You've got to, interact with them. All it takes is pause for 30 seconds And if it's convenient, may not always be, to close your eyelids and a deep breath, and imagine and to visualize you are in your ideal place of relaxation as if you're there. And when you do that, that thought will reconnect you. So you're thinking of a place where you've been, will reconnect you to the memories. And those memories have stored at a cellular level the chemistry and how you feel when you're at that place of relaxation. And it is a proven way to what? Regain access to change your state of being. So you stay calm and focused. That is a very, very simple one. Then we go into, from the ideal place, we had the big relaxation exercise. I want you to be working with that at least a few times a month as a Silva practitioner to keep your body in the zone, familiar with, to strengthen the 3-to-1 method with the physical and the mental relaxation, so that when you use the short form 3-to-1, you're responding more quickly, more easily. You're rewiring your brain, retraining your brain, and making sure this becomes the dominant expression with that. Then the 3-to-1 method, which is simplest, as a tool to center yourself. To go through the 3-to-1 method will take you less than a few minutes. And you can do that. Remember the transition meditation in between meetings, in between new events, situations, which I probably said about 3 times already tonight. So these are very specific problem solvers. And then we've got to be mindful of our thoughts. So on one level, very simply, fundamentally, the words. We know that words make a difference, and words can and do change your brain chemistry. So if we're saying things like, I can't relax, I can't do that, I'll never learn this, that's going to become your reality because you're reinforcing that and you're firing and wiring that. And again, you know that. Or, the weather. It's raining in Portland. Oh, what a lousy freaking day. Oh, the day's not lousy. It's the weather that maybe is lousy. And now you're not going to go outside. Okay. Or, this is going to be horrible. Oh, I've got to travel during the holidays. Oh my God, it's a nightmare. So here we are suffering. We're not even there yet. It's paying the dues or paying the tolls twice. Like you're paying the toll now, and then when you actually pay it, it does no good. So we're setting ourselves up for failure. We're setting ourselves up for anxiety. Be mindful of that. Or you're driving and there's an accident ahead, or there's bumper to bumper. Oh my God, you got to catch yourself and be aware that those are negative patterns. Those are knee-jerk reactions. And those knee-jerk reactions compound the feeling of stress. So I'm not saying, oh, this is great. I love driving in traffic. No, I don't. I dislike it intensely. But you've got to make the most of it and do the best you can and not wallow in it, not ruminate on it, not repeat it. Just like people say, hey, how you doing? Pretty good, things are good, but I'm tired. And they're always tired. There are people in my life I've been attempting to get through. They don't realize. They think it's just semantics. It's not just semantics. If you keep telling your brain you're tired, your brain is going to create the chemistry to match that. You are the placebo. Remember the book, You Are the Placebo. This is a fact. Science demonstrates it. And if we keep talking like that, and if that's our attitude, that's how we're firing and wiring the brain. Make sense? Think of things like that. Or if you're listening to someone, a politician, give a speech, and you're going, oh my God, this guy's an idiot, same old same. That's not going to do any good. That may be true. It might be true. But how many times are you going to repeat it? How many times are you going to yell at him or her on the TV screen or on the radio? It's doing more harm to you. They don't hear you because it puts you into a state of stress. So stress is indeed the enemy. And it's the stress and it's the negative reinforcement. It's the negative news cycle if you're constantly watching it. And if you're doing that, it's like people wake up in the morning, the first thing they do, they're looking at their phone. And they're looking at the news and they're getting all this input of negativity and what's wrong in the world. And then they wonder why they have no energy, and they wonder why they're depressed, and they wonder why they're upset. Where attention goes, energy flows. So yes, I'm making a commitment. I'm going to read the paper a little bit more, and I'm going to watch the news, but not in the morning, because I want to be a little more conscious of what's going on with current events than I am typically. And I do realize and acknowledge that's important. It's just not going to become the dominant expression. And I'm going to think about solutions. So remember, cancel, cancel, mental house cleaning. It's a way, it's a pattern interrupter. It's a way, remember, cancel, cancel. It sounds ridiculous, but just think it in your head. It interrupts the pattern, and then you got to reframe it. So the cancel, cancel interrupts the pattern so that you're not reinforcing the habit you don't want. And then when you reframe it in something more positive, you look at it in different positive light, what you're doing is you're starting to fire and wire a new pattern. As you move through day one, oh my God, there's so much just in day one. We went through the formula type techniques. You could be creative. So if you're having trouble sleeping at night, you could use things like sleep control to get yourself to sleep. But if you're sleeping fine and there's no problem and you have no difficulty getting back to sleep, excuse me, let me just take a sip, and there's no need to use it. Sometimes I find that when I wake up during the night, sometimes you wake up during the night, depends on your age, you may feel like you need to pee. Talk about the mind is always ahead of the body. So if you wake up during the night or it's in the morning and you start to think about peeing, what happens? Boy, you really got to pee and you got to get up, right? You're not thinking about food. You're so busy. All of a sudden you think, ooh, getting close to dinner. And how hungry you become in the next couple of minutes, right? Where attention goes, energy flows. So if you're waking up during the middle of the night and you're starting to think about your worries, your problems, your challenges, you're going to get anxiety, you're going to go into a state of stress again, and that's going to get you full of anxiety and raise cortisol levels and the stress hormones, and that's going to prevent you from going back to sleep. So bless someone. Sometimes I find just simple as just bless them. Just send them some healing thoughts. I say, God bless Bishop, God bless Barbara, God bless, whoever. So I go through a big thing and just thinking that, and maybe just imagine a quick smile on their face, something like that. The alarm clock, waking up in the morning without an alarm. I hope you're using that. It's a way to get immediate feedback each and every morning. And what it's more importantly doing is it's establishing new patterns. You're being more internally focused, interdependent rather than externally dependent. The more dependent we are on things outside of ourselves, the harder it is to have a fulfilling life, the harder it is to be happier. So it's important to have that interdependence, that inner dependence. So the mental alarm clock. Then energy and vitality. All the research shows if you're in business and you want to perform better, you want to increase your income, you want to gain more sales, you want to improve the effectiveness with your clients, your patients, you want to interact more lovingly with your spouse, your children, grandchildren, otherwise. All the research shows if you're in a state of stress, ain't going to happen. Because what? That state of stress is going to change your physiology. You're going to be more tense. You're going to be more abrupt. You'll even show on your face. You won't have a happy face. And you'll be projecting tension out and they pick it up the vibes. When people in your environment, they pick up your vibes. So you got to change your state of being and do those transition meditations. So if you take an alpha break during the day, even a few times during the day, even just for 2 minutes, those transition meditations are a way to do it. You'll have more energy, more vitality, and guaranteed you'll make less mistakes. Then you've got another problem solver, the headache or pain management. The pain management, whether it be the glove anesthesia, which works automatically, remember, gone, 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 no need to close your eyes, no need to turn them up, because we program that in. It's based on survival, and you have it's for acute pain. When you have an emergency, knee-jerk reaction, gone, 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 whatever it might be. For chronic pain, the long relax is best. For chronic pain, the alpha sound, blasting loud in the direction of where the pain is best. With that. However, remember the hand levitation? The hand levitation is a way to practice gaining control, a level of mastery with your autonomic nervous system and involuntary nervous system. Why is that important? Because you don't need to tell yourself to breathe. It's automatic, the breathing, the heartbeat, etc. But in order to manage pain, especially long-term pain, We need to be able to change at will our chemistry. You have a pharmacy within. You need to be able to change your body chemistry so that you're releasing more dopamine, more serotonin, and more of the pain-killing like substances that the body naturally manufactures when you're in the new state of being, when you're not in a state of stress. So the hand levitation is a technique, a tool designed to help you practice gaining a level of control, mastery over the involuntary nervous system. Now, go back in your book and review the specifics. Time is flying by already. With that, these are essential. And there's more. I'm going to just go a little bit more. Mirror the mind and three fingers technique. If you're having trouble learning, or you want to learn and enhance your learning and be more mentally present, then use the three finger, the study technique before you read a book, before you read a lesson, before you attend a meeting, before you attend a conference. It's kind of like the transition meditation that I did earlier tonight, so that you have superior concentration and understanding. And then what you're going to do is program in that you can use your three fingers technique to help you recall quickly and easily that which you've impressed in your brain cells. In addition to that, during the day, at least be doing this in the morning, your morning meditation. 3-to-1 method, nice and relaxed, feel some appreciation. I'm going to give you a little sample tonight, things you can do at night or in the morning. And then lock it in with three fingers and say, anytime during the day when I want to maintain this feeling of relaxation, this is all I need to do. You remember in day number 2, we used this adaptation with the resource state. So what you can do is close your eyes. And let's do it right now. In fact, let's do an exercise right now, simple exercise. You build a resource state by recalling a past moment of excellence, a memory of excellence. So what I'd like you to do right now is to close your eyelid. Let me just double check the exercise I want to do for you. Okay, so your eyelids are closed. Now allow a slow, deep breath. Relax. Now, to create a resource state, think of a time in your past, something you've done with excellence. It could be your health, an improvement in your health. It could be your daily meditation. It could be a conversation you have with a friend and you help them to feel better. It could be a sales presentation you gave. It could be a presentation you made. It could be a performance musically or singing or acting where you were at your best, you're in the zone. Doesn't matter how far back. So how are you feeling when you were at your best? What was your posture? How were you carrying yourself? Were you walking? Were you moving? If you were standing, how are you standing? If you were sitting, how are you sitting? If you were talking, how are you talking? What did you sound like? And how did it feel? What were you feeling? What was your emotional state? Often when we're in the zone, we kind of lose track of ourselves. We're in a stream of consciousness. Can you remember that? What were your thoughts? What were you thinking? What were you believing? What were you saying? So you want to feel it with emotion as if you're there right now. And then put your fingers together, the first two fingers and thumb together, the pinky and the ring finger touching your palm. And now repeat after me mentally. Whenever I need or desire to think this way, to feel this way, to behave this way, to believe this way, this is all I need to do, and it will be so. And then now you may open your eyelids, awaken, alert, focus. So anytime in the future when you go into a new event, new situation, and you feel a little bit anxious, maybe your confidence is a little shaky, and think back to the zone with the desire to regain access to that past memory, that resource state. And if you're going to do something and you have time beforehand, do it before you go to give that new presentation, before you go on that interview, before you go to be interviewed, etc., before you go into that meeting, and it puts you into that state. It's called the resource state, or state of confidence. And you're literally changing physiology and your brain chemistry so that you'll be more likely to be in the zone, what some have identified as that flow state. It seems like the universe has got your back. I recently received a few other emails from recent students telling me, Ken, I'm so glad I did this class. Since I've been in the class, I've been doing my morning meditation, but doing a little bit sometimes during the day, and especially at night. And I got to tell you, it feels like I'm so much luckier. Things are, it's like I'm not perfect, Ken, but things are fitting into place, and I got a pay raise, and things I was having trouble with worked out. I got some ideas, solutions. That's what some have recognized as the flow state. That's your benefit with that. So you also have the memory pegs. Remember the memory pegs? If you are having difficulty with visualization, mental rehearsal requires some visualization where you're imagining, which works. You can just describe it to yourself and you get results. It is easier though when you have a mental picture, an imagery. So the memory pegs are specifically to help you improve the quality of your visualization. It's also the memory pegs teaching you how to learn by association, which is the most effective way we learn. That's that whole process, why we use the memory pegs in the class and still use them. Excuse me. Then, of course, everybody's favorite, mirror of the mind. Now, you notice tonight I have 90 minutes, but I have master classes that some of you have. Use them, and if you don't have them, you want to get them. These master classes were recorded. I did them live. They're available at my TrustYourIntuitionAcademy.com. And we did one on just laboratory encounters, one on the mirror of the mind, one on 3 fingers and accelerated learning in the resource state, full 90 minutes with exercises and tons of applications to help you be clearer, more focused, to take it deeper, to understand it. That's the intention of these master classes. Use them, you have them, work with them. It'll keep you on point. It'll help you to just become the way you are. So mirror of the mind is the ultimate reframing technique. So remember, I do want to review something. Imagine the blue frame. You're acknowledging the difficulty, the challenge, or the current reality, the way things have been up to now. You do that once and only once, each individual project. And then you move it to the left, action, movement, progress, and you imagine the white frame, symbolic of all the energy focused on the way you want to be, your ideal self, your best self. Here's the key. You've got to release it and surrender it. And if you're preoccupied worrying, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? I have to push this. You're in anxiety, you're in stress moment, and it ain't going to happen. It's feedback to you. So reinforce even the white frame only as often as you think about it in a worrisome or negative manner. So it doesn't have to be every day, 3 times a day. I mean, at first you may do it a few times each day for a few days up to a week, but at one point you got to stop thinking about it, because by the fact that you're still thinking about it, even though you're thinking of the fun, the white frame, you're putting attention there. And if it's relating to a project you've had, a problem you've had, if it's relating to a challenge, then it will be reinforcing that in a way that you don't want. So be careful, be mindful of that. White frame only as often as you think about it in a worrisome, negative way. And if you're driving or talking to somebody and you have a negative, worrisome thought, you're going to say what? Cancel, cancel. That's right. And then reinforce the white frame with that. Then as we moved on, I'm going to skip to caseworking, the healing, projecting healing thoughts to somebody. Imagine them in your laboratory. Please be doing this for your family, friends, and loved ones. Those are very specific. The fun is with the information seeking techniques, because here's where we can access that stream of consciousness. Here's where we can attune to the unified field, whatever you want to call it, the flow state, the inner conscious, the subconscious, and access our genius capability. So for example, dream control. Notice you're doing it at night when you get to step number 3. So remember, step 1 and 2 is just to get into the practice of being able to remember your dreams. So if you're feeling stuck or confused, or you need some inspiration, or you're working on a project, or you want some ideas, and you're not quite sure what direction to move in, where to go, or who to listen to, or what book to read, or what course to take, or what to enroll in, stuff like that. Step number 3. Tonight I want to have a dream that will contain information concerning this challenge, this problem I have in my mind. I will have such a dream, I will remember it, and I will understand. Again, it's written in your book. And then we release it. We go to sleep. So a spiritual teaching throughout the ages, regardless of who you study, spiritual teachers throughout the ages have taught us the art of what? Surrender. And what surrender means is to have faith in the universe. Doesn't mean give up and just wait to be discovered and wait for things to happen. Oh, yeah. No, you do stuff, you do the work, you do your due diligence, you set things in motion, and then you surrender, meaning you let it go. You allow the seed to germinate. You allow the seed to take root and for the roots to take hold. And that takes time. So a good thing to do is at night, same thing, mirror the mind at night before you go to sleep, because then you're surrendering it, you're releasing it. Because you don't then have time to what? Worry. The worry keeps us into anxiety, keeps us into a state of stress. And if you're in a state of stress, you're not going to think clearly, and you're going to stay, you could do 100 to 1, 3 to 1, and everything else, and you're going to be in the blue, not in the green or the red. Make sense? Drink a glass of water. Some people prefer that. Similar, a little bit different, but you're drinking half glass at night, half glass in the morning with the intention of what? This is glug glug. All I need to do to find a solution to this project in my mind. And then you go to sleep. You stop thinking about it. You repeat it in the morning, no matter what, even if you got an insight during the night in a dream. And you're releasing it to the universe. Whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, new state of being, unified field. I think even the most conservative scientists, I believe, will agree, in fact, it's a fact, that there is an intelligence in the universe that keeps moving with or without us. And when we are centered, when we are in alignment with that intelligence, our life works and we feel more fulfilled and we make continuous progress, and we are attracted and are attracted into our lives the people, the places, the situations that help us fulfill our goals. So a lot of what you're doing is getting in alignment, staying in alignment, and stop getting in your own way. Okay? Myself included, not getting in my own way too. Laboratory and counsel is one of the last things we did in the day number 2 of Silva Life System. That is, on one level, a personification of your higher self. It is a representation of a high level of familiarity, people we like and admire, one male, one female counselor, and then we have one male, one female, then we have that place. If time and money were no object, this inner sanctum. So it's something if we could visit, we'd go and visit. That inner sanctum represents the zone, so to speak, where we want to be. So that familiarity, remember initially Jose created this to help Isabel be comfortable because she was having some bad dreams, so to speak, while she was at level with that. But it has evolved into a tool to facilitate the flow of information. So notice we can consult with our counselors and ask them for help, for guidance, and we release it with the intention that we get thoughts, we get ideas, as if accessing this field. Again, when we feel stuck, when we feel confused, or we need more information. The whole of you, in which you do in day number 3, which is mirror the mind and a whole lot more. It's mirror the mind, the ultimate reframing, ultimate self-improvement tool with this access of surrendering, consciously surrendering to the universe with the intention of being guided. So and I highly recommend, more so than mirror the mind, whole of you. I have a masterclass on whole of viewing, building out on that 90 minutes to help you use it more effectively, more efficiently, to understand it more deeply. Our modality, what I've come to understand is the more you understand a tool, the more intellectually you understand it, yes, the more you're in agreement, the better able you are to do it. The how-to becomes easier. The more you have conscious awareness of the tool and what to do, the more likely you are to implement it and get results, which is why the review is so valuable and important, and I want you to do that. So at the whole of viewing, you're programming for a sign, how to proceed. Thank you, Source. Thank you, Source Energy. Thank you, God. Thank you, Universe. Thank you, Unified Field, for guiding me, for helping me to make the right decision at the right time, to get in alignment. Get the idea? There's just so much to work with. So let me just go over a couple of other things. Day number 2, toward the end of day number 2, fantastic voyage. Remember, you're imagining as if you're turning within your body, as if you could imagine and touch, as if you could see, as if you could sense the cells and the molecules and the atoms within you. And then out of cells, it's an awareness expander, as if you're above your body, as if you're out of your body on the roof, as if you're in the clouds and imagining, as if you're in a helicopter. For example, physically, we're limited. Like right now, you can only see what the screen is picking up from my laptop that's projecting me and what's behind me in this room. But if you were in a helicopter above this room, in this room, or above this building, or in the clouds, you'd see much more. So part of what it is, the fantastic voyage and the mental projection exercises in day number 3. Remember, we projected to our home, we projected to the metals. Those exercises are mental gymnastics to train and discipline your subjective awareness. Because in the so-called spiritual world, the subjective dimension, it's very easy to wander and daydream all over the place. So it's giving us a focus. We're practicing thought control, thinking about what we want when we want, and we're practicing recognizing how we think while in this subjective state. Sipping my tea, peppermint tea, little dash of honey, recommended highly. So the fantastic voyage, it's not something we're looking to do physically. What you're practicing is with your intuition, practicing with your subjective awareness, being able to access information in such a way that you go beyond your 5 senses, that you go beyond your physical reality to get information to help you be luckier, to help you make better, wiser decisions, to help you avoid danger, to help you be more and more in the right place at the right time. And when you get to the point where it's just the way you are, because you went through the steps of the intention, to the behavior, to the habit, to the practice, and so on, to it's just the way you are, then you live it and you notice yourself more and more without consciously thinking, making decisions that serve you, and where you drive, how you drive to work, the stores you shop at to find the best possible deals, and so on and so forth, to things you say, to the phone calls you make, to the list of clients you have, and who you choose with that. So those are excellent for review, for expanding our awareness and developing a subjective state so that you can practice with remember what Jose called mental broadcasting, where you're, so to speak, at night mentally broadcasting, imagining loving the people who you serve, the people who need and can use what you have to offer to gain a proficiency. Whew. I know I'm talking a little fast, I think. So remember, you have this. I'm going to go back and review. Before I do a closing exercise, the best self-exercise, which I think you really enjoy, I'm going to recommend a couple of questions. I invited you to send questions ahead of time because in the capacity of this platform I'm using, I'm not able to, even with my phone, to access the chat. They're not, for different reasons that I'm getting to understand. However, so I invited you, and a few people did. So a couple of them I answered already. But one came up about decalcifying your pineal gland. And I'm not going to use your name, sweetheart. Thank you so much for the question. Thank you for taking the time. I'm not able to help you. I did a little searching. You can Google search it and find, and kind of use your 3 fingers, because there's a lot of misrepresentation. There's a lot of woo-woo out there. And I even went to PubMed, PubMed, PubMed.org, and there's no peer-reviewed papers on that. So it's alternative therapies that have not been peer-reviewed. I've heard about it, and I kind of know what it is. I've heard people talk about it. It's just out of my wheelhouse. If I find out more, I will let you know. I've saved your email with that. Second question was about recommended best morning exercise. Well, some of what I've been talking about now are what I'm recommending that you're doing. And I would recommend this exercise. In fact, I'll read it to you as the best morning. Remember my guided meditations, which are also available on my Trust Your Intuition Academy.com. The Centering for Excellence. I get more feedback. There's a morning exercise and an evening. And the morning is only 13 minutes, classical music in the background. It'll help you stay focused. It'll help you start the day in confidence. It'll help you program your priorities for the day and to start the day in a state of confidence so that you bring that with you in all that you do, so that you make better, wiser decisions. And then the evening is 18 minutes is your reviewing the day, acknowledging with appreciation anything you did well, very important, and acknowledging any difficulty, and then going back in time to forgive yourself, giving yourself permission not to be perfect. Guys, if there's one thing that we all need to hear repeatedly is give yourself permission not to be perfect. Stop shooting yourself. You're doing the best you know how to do with what you have. It's that simple. The fact that you're here, you're fantastic. At least you're making an effort. You're here. I honor you. I want to acknowledge you again for that. I know it's not easy. And the fact that you're here, you're going to make some progress because you're taking steps. Now make sure you review this and you go back over this. You're going to have the replay of this. Go back over your manual with that. So the actually, there's a couple of quick things that I wanted to do. I wanted to just do this way. It's not the best way to do caseworking, but I'm going to ask you to work a couple of quick cases, real quick, and then we'll do the best self exercise. And we should be right on time. We're okay. So in order to do this, I'm going to ask you to close your eyelids, allow a slow, deep breath, and desire. In the interest of time, just desire to attune to your laboratory level. Allow another slow, deep breath and desire to attune to your laboratory level with your counselors. And now remember your intuition, maybe the caseworking, or some of the exercises you did in the Silva class with me or another instructor. Some of the hits. What's that feeling like when you nailed it? Something about that. It's like being you're in another dimension. We have different dimensions of reality, and it's an altered state. Review the feeling when you're accurate. And now I'm going to snap my fingers, and at that moment, I want you to imagine, I'm just going to give you a first name. I'm going to think of the person very clearly. I know the person. I got an email asking for help. And when I snap my fingers, Fran will be on your screen. Fran is now on your mental screen in your laboratory. Imagine enter sense. You can use your hands up and down from the head to the legs, up and down. Use your hands. That's a scan. And allow your intelligence to pick 3 areas of attraction, 3 major areas. What first one that comes to mind? Real quick. First impression. What's the first area? Second area. What's the third area? And of these 3 areas, that's just first impression. No thought about it. Like you're a reporter just observing. What one are you attracted to the most? What's the dominant concern? What is Ken? What am I concerned about here? Excuse me. Are you inside or outside? Are you on the right side or the left side of the body? Upper or lower? Upper or lower? Are you in an organ? What's your first impression? Okay. For the interest of this interaction and the time, I'll give you feedback. Fran recently was in the hospital for a procedure and to have a stent. She's got blockages in her arteries of the heart. Her blood pressure is too high, and one of the arteries is wrapped around the heart, and there are blockages. She's unable to have the stent and or the angioplasty because of her age and because of the location. So if you got the dominant concern, the chest and or the heart area, you nailed it. Doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. Please imagine healing, the blockage is clearing up. Excellent. Good job. Now thank your counselors and open your eyes out in excellent health. In your intuition system manual, or you might have written in your life system, Silva, S-I-L-V-A, cases, cases.com, silvacases.com, where you can practice online. There isn't somebody like me guiding you, but they're posted online. If you need help, just let me know. So here's the closing exercise that I want to work with you on that. And I'll call it Ken's. I took some notes. I wrote some really cool notes, applications here for you. I'm just going to call my 5-phase meditation. I'd rather call it best self meditation. You can adapt the scenario like there are 5 phases of 5 steps. First, you're going to center within. So whether you're using the 3-to-1 or just breathing, you're going to center within. Then I want you to appreciate, before you do anything, anyone or anything in your life. This is the ideal. Do this in the morning, any time of the day, especially in the morning. Appreciate any progress you've made. Then imagine well-being for somebody in your life. Give. The surest way to have more is to first appreciate what you do have. Lead with generosity. If you have a health challenge, if you have a business challenge, if you have a psychological quirk that you want to get over, work in your laboratory level on people whom you know who have that same challenge and work on them. That's right. And project healing. Because what you're doing is you're surrendering, you're releasing the preoccupation with yourself. Because when we become, I know we're concerned, of course you want to be concerned, but if we're overly concerned and preoccupied with ourselves, we go into a state of fear and a state of stress, and that will interfere with the healing of the body. So you want to get into the zone where you're boosting your immune system. And these are proven strategies to create heart coherence and brain coherence. And when your brain and heart are coherent, when you're in a state of grace, a state of gratitude, a state of appreciation, you are boosting your immune system and you're facilitating an acceleration of the healing in your body. And that is, my friends, a fact. So imagine well-being for someone, anyone, then go on to anything you want to program, mirror the mind otherwise, or in this case, I'm going to recommend that because of what's going on in the world today, because of all the negative reinforcement that we keep getting, to start practicing every day, in addition to all the other things you do at level. That's why I want to go a few times a day, your ideal best self, to start being defined by a vision of your future. So what would you be like? What would your best self like? How would you talk? How would you act? How will you carry yourself? How will you feel? What will you be? How will you be interacting in your life? And you're going to do this with a high level of elevated emotion. What are the benefits, the value, and feel so, ooh, irresistibly good. It's so delicious. It's the emotion like that. And yes, exaggerated. It's the elevated emotion that helps us to wire the brain. So you're not just passive, oh yeah, I want to be better and better. It's not enough. The self, and then if it's at night before you go to bed, do this every day for the next few weeks and you notice how you are and watch the synchronicities in your life. I do this, and when I remember to do this, all of a sudden the phones are ringing and people are registering for the class. The synchronicities pile up. And then either go to sleep if it's nighttime from that state, or awaken, meaning come back into the blue. So give yourself a suggestion that you can open your eyelids and be awake and be alert, feeling much better than before. So let me guide you so that we have that. Again, I want you to have conscious awareness, and let's just do it. It doesn't take long. And I'm going to put the alpha sound back on for you. So if you would, please allow yourself your eyelids to close. Allow a very slow, deep breath. Take your time. And as you exhale, mentally repeat, visualize, think of the number 3 times. Excellent. Allow another deep breath. And while exhaling, mentally repeat, visualize, think of the number 2 3 times. Allow another deep breath. And while exhaling, mentally repeat, visualize, think of the number 1 3 times. How good it feels to progressively relax deeper and deeper. Desire to focus within, to center within. And remember, when you do this on your own, no chewing gum, no sucking on a lozenge, no moving around physically. Be as still as you can be, whether you're sitting or lying down. If you're lying down, make sure you have a couple of pillows under your head so that you're up higher than you typically would be when you're sleeping, so that you don't access a sleep state. Now, appreciate. Allow yourself to appreciate, feel gratitude about any progress you've made in your life. Or you can feel appreciation for someone in your life you're so happy is in your life. Or a smiling face. Somebody did an act of kindness on your behalf. Just take about 30 seconds. Feel it genuinely. You can say, thank you, universe. Thank you, God. There are so many wonderful people in the world. There are so many good people all around doing good things. Now imagine and or visualize the well-being or success of a loved one, or a coworker, a friend, somebody you care about. As if they're there with you, imagine a smile on their face. If there's something important coming up that you're concerned about, they're at their best. And now it's time to rewire your brain and start programming, re-educating your brain to your best self. Imagine your best self in the days, weeks, and months and years to come. Imagine situations in your life and you're at your best. You're speaking clearly, intelligently. You're responding authentically, genuinely. Your tone is soothing, comforting, engaging. Your physiology, your posture is at its best. You're in alignment. You're smiling. You're feeling a deep sense of satisfaction, doing what you do best, enjoying what you do. What does that mean to you? You don't need to know a specific job, but what are things you enjoy? Situations, perhaps challenges that are coming up in the days and weeks and months to follow. And you're at your best, interacting, making that proposal. And as you think about your best self, what do you want to change about you? What's getting in the way? What are some of the quirks, idiosyncrasies that you want to put in the blue frame of the mind to negate, to cancel out? And then, as if you're a movie actor or a director, to reframe it, you acting more appropriately, being a better person. And remember, anytime you want to access this best self, all you need to do is put your 3 fingers together like you are now. Put your fingers together, first 2 fingers and thumb, your ring finger, and your pinky are touching your palm. And if you want to feel this way, behave this way, think this way, be this way, this is all you need to do. Just stay confident and hopeful. Tonight, you're going to have a good, healthy night's rest. You're going to be at your best. Remember to do this tonight before you go to sleep. And now, In a moment, this exercise will end and you may open your eyelids, feeling awake and alert, feeling much, much better than before. At the count of 5, you may open your eyelids, be awake, be alert, feeling much, much better than before, feeling fantastic and excellent. 1, 2, coming out slowly now. 3, at the count of 5, you may open your eyelids, be wide awake and alert, feeling fine and in excellent health, feeling better than before. 4, 5, eyelids open, wide awake and alert, feeling much better than before. Welcome back, you genius, you. Wow, good job. You did excellent. So remember, I'm going to check up on you. You have field work, you have homework. Make sure you come back and review this. You guys are great. I so very much love doing these for you. I much rather do this in today's world. So much of it's become about marketing. I know that's why sometimes you get a lot of emails from me. And by the way, it does work. Some of you just registered this afternoon. Some of you just before we were beginning. You know, people are just so busy and they're so inundated with emails with that. So I'm doing my best and working hard to support. You know, this is our lives. We're in this together, guys. I'm so happy you're in my community, my Silva community, and I look forward to doing more with you. And if you want to check out trustyourintuitionacademy.com, made some changes in the prices to reflect that, to make them a little bit more reasonable for you. With that, but more importantly, it's not just about you getting things. They work. They're important. We all need support. Whether you use my stuff or you use others that you have, whatever it is, do make sure that you have guided meditations to practice with. Do make sure that you have access to learning that you can have access to 24/7 in the privacy of your home. That's one of the good things about the online community. I hope it never replaces live, but it's certainly a good complement to it. So thanks again for being here, guys. As always, keep getting better and better. And as Jose Silva used to say, may the rest of your life be the best of your life. And as I would like to say to you, you are far more than you realize. In fact, you've begun to discover, haven't you, that you are far better. Thank you.